If you come wide awake, Ellie, if a person can bring themselves back into the moment as fully as they know how, the whole of their life is there. But we don't understand that kind of wholeness, because when we think of wholeness, we think of what our mind attributes to a place, a time, a possession, that when acquired will give us wholeness. And each act of a mind that creates that kind of imagery, that object that it will pursue in order to end its own sense of emptiness or discontentment, that mind separates itself out from what is whole in the very moment. Because if we could remain awake, which is the whole point of everything that we talk about, I don't have to think about myself. I am myself. Mm-hmm. And when I am myself, the whole of myself is present for me to see. My past is not something that I think about. The lessons that I've not learned or the things that I still struggle with don't exist as ideas or possibilities. They're my very being. So the whole of me is present. And when the whole of me is present, I have in that wholeness a God-given awareness, a capacity, a capability to see that everything I have done to bring an end to my discontentment becomes the seed of the next discontentment. I don't have to think about it. It's evident to me. But there is a part of us that, this is the part that's the pretender. There's a part of us that doesn't want to see the futility of creating a future in which contentment will be mine. Because it requires that future in order to supply itself with a sense of, with a sensation of being okay and happy and on the path to that kind of fulfillment. But the true end of discontentment comes with a change, not in the conditions that we would try to control, but in the actual consciousness that believes that somehow a desire is capable of satisfying itself. And it's not. And we have the evidence of it. The whole of our life speaks to it. Every moment of the day, were we willing to be present to ourselves. Then we see discontentment as a pretender, promising a resolution that simply keeps that role of going along, as opposed to giving it power because we've identified with its promises. Withdraw the power, lose the pain.
I'd like to tell an experience I had today that I think is related to all of this.
Sure, they're very helpful to everybody.
I was driving down the highway, and it was one of these beautiful days here where it was stormy and sunny. And I came to a bend in the road, and when I came around the corner, I could see pretty far in the distance, there was a rainbow. But it wasn't up in the sky. I had never seen anything like this. The rainbow came right across the road. So it felt as though I was driving into the rainbow, and I could see all of the mountains in the distance in Technicolor. Just the whole spectrum was covering the mountains.
A nice gift.
It was beautiful, and my initial impression was oneness with the moment. But then certain things happened. I started feeling discontentment. It was like I got bored with this incredible display. And it was, first of all, my mind latched onto it.
To the discontentment.
Well, latched on to what I was seeing, so I wasn't just fully giving myself to the moment.
I understand.
I went into thought about the moment.
Right.
So that immediately made it boring, because it was just, instead of experiencing it new each second, I was thinking about it.
Right.
And then the other weird thing that was going on was I wanted to go back to what I wanted to think about. And it seemed wrong when God was presenting this beautiful thing in front of me that demanded my attention. Okay, I know it's humiliating. But the fact that I was able to see all this going on was an incredible lesson, because it was just what you're talking about. Instead of having the full contentment that the moment gives, the awakened consciousness, Ellen came in and was trying to get something out of it and ruined the moment, except that because I saw so much, it was a lesson.
Yeah,
there was a great lesson.
Something else
there.
came out of it altogether. Yeah.
So what does it all mean?
I think that we are sensation mongers. That we want the experience of our own thoughts about things more than we want the direct relationship with those things that our thought occupies themselves with. And that the only way in which a person can finally end that discontentment is by recognizing it. See, we think to ourselves incorrectly that somehow or other our happiness is in our own hands. You know, that contentment is something that I am meant to control conditions for. And it's not like that. The happiest, in fact, we can go back and use your moment and look at this kind of in different ways. When the first, and I've seen those vertical, horizontal rainbows, and they move with you.
Yes.
You never reach it. That's the bummer about any rainbow, isn't it? But you're driving along, and the rainbow, it moves with you. And of course, we know rainbows have to do with the prismatic effect of light through moisture in the air, but it's new. And in the first apprehension of something like that, the mind is instantaneously quieted, and there is a deep gratitude. There's a sense of awe. There is a silence. And all of that is born out of that mind in that moment, recognizing as it's going through this, that here is something it didn't create for itself, but that was brought to it. And in that moment of awareness of such a mind, there is, and we'll just use the word, there's a marriage. There's love. If you will. I like that because that word love applies to union. And the union we're speaking of is the mind that apprehends the beauty, and the beauty that's not different than the mind that apprehended it. There's just that moment. And it is complete contentment. Because there's no self that's sitting there analyzing it, wondering what's going on. And I know everything you're talking about because sometimes you're looking and saying, I wonder what causes that. And the minute you ask yourself what causes that, then your mind starts to search the reference files of all your past experience with any kind of such phenomena, and now you're an expert driving down the road.
Analyzing the rainbow.
Analyzing life and the rainbow, instead of letting the rainbow provide in its beauty the gift of beauty to the whole of life.